Hey, in this video, I'm going to talk to you about what I think is the best drawing board ever. Not only is it super light and very easy to make, but it's also really cheap. But before I get into this, I want to talk about why us artists collect art supplies. Why do we all have a ton of art supplies laying around our studio? All artists collect art supplies. It's universal to what we do. I got this box in my closet plus stacks of art supplies all over my studio. So why do we collect all these art supplies? I think it's because part of creativity is experimentation. We're trying to figure out the differences between mediums. How does this charcoal differ from this charcoal? Which one works for us? Or maybe a teacher says, hey, you need to buy these pencils because they're awesome and we're going to be using them in class. What happens to me most is I see, an artist using maybe a particular brush, right? And they're amazing artists. And I think if I buy this brush, I'll be as amazing as they are. It's got magical powers, obviously. But I think most of all, what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out which of these art supplies work with our brain and how we work. We're trying to find art supplies that are successful for us. So what makes art supplies successful? In my opinion, when an art supply is successful, it completely disappears. Not literally, of course. Its influence on our process disappears. It becomes part of the background and takes up 0% of our attention. But when an art supply doesn't work, it takes up a whole bunch more of our attention. And this is what I think is the true purpose of art supplies. Its purpose is to support our creativity and not get in the way, to facilitate production, to facilitate practice, and do it completely without influence. This is why I think it's so important for you to find art supplies that work really well for you. See, the problem is that most of the art supplies that we go out and purchase just don't work for us. A really great example of this is the brown masonite drawing boards that you see everywhere. But the masonite board has a lot of issues. It's too heavy, the clips don't move, it's got a hole in it that gets in the way of your paper. There's only 2 clips, and you can't customize the size. It's a great board if you just want to go out and buy something really quickly, but it's probably going to end up in that pile of failed art supplies that we all have, right? My point is that if we want art supplies to last the length of our artistic journey, then we really need to make it ourselves. When we make it ourselves, it has a tremendous chance of being successful. This is the only art supply that I've ever created that has stood the test of time and continues to come along with me on my own artistic journey. I think it's the best drawing board ever, and I'm going to give you 6 reasons why I think that. And number 1 on that list is that this drawing board is as rigid as a piece of wood. I can press down really hard on it, and it doesn't bend or bow at all. Number 2 on the list, this drawing board lasts. It lasts a really long time. The first one I made lasted me about 7 years, and the only reason why I remade this one is because I wanted it to be a bit larger. Number 3 on that list, and one of the best things I love about this board is that it's super, super light. This is the same exact drawing board that Anthony Ryder uses, and he calls it a stiff cloud, which is absolutely perfect. Literally, it only weighs 24 ounces. This is with the paper and with the clips. Number 4, it's super versatile. You can use it almost anywhere. You can use it in a chair propped up against your computer desk and draw from your computer. You can use it by sitting in a chair and propping it up against another chair. You can use it by sitting in a chair and propping it up against an easel. You can use it on one of those crappy studio easels that shake around a lot, or a nice easel that you have in your studio. You can use it with dry medium, wet medium, and even digital. Number 5, this drawing board is cheap. It's cheap to create, it's cheap to replace. I mean, the foam core only costs about 20 bucks. And if you get the clips separately from an art store, they're like $1 each. And if the first one you create's not working for you, it only takes a few minutes to cut a new one to whatever size you want. The last reason why I think this drawing board is the best drawing board ever is because it takes up 0% of my attention when I'm drawing. It does its job, it does it well, and it does it consistently. It's basically invisible to my process, and I'm absolutely certain it can be invisible to yours as well. All right, we're going to talk about the supplies you're going to need to be able to make your own foam core drawing board. But before we get into that, we need to figure out what size we want. Now, this is an 18 by 24 sheet of paper. So I want my foam core to be a little bit larger. This one is 19 inches by 25 inches. So a little bit extra on the side there. Now, when you go to the art store, you're not gonna find a 1/2 inch sheet of foam core that exact size. So you'll have to get something a little bit larger and then cut it down. But that's wonderful because any pieces that are left over are wonderful for modification, which I'll show you later. What is absolutely essential though, is that you get 1/2 inch foam core. Make sure you get 1/2 inch. Anything thinner is not gonna work. 1/2 inch foam core, essential. The next thing you're gonna need are 2 types of clips. The essential clip is a bulldog clip. Now, you wanna get the biggest bulldog clip you can get. This is 3 inches on this side, and you're gonna need 3 of them. So 3-inch bulldog clip. The next clip is not essential. This is optional, and this is a binder clip. You mostly get them at office supply stores, and they're hard to get individually, but if you do buy these for some modifications, make sure you get the largest ones. They're 2 inches on this side. That's a binder clip. And lastly, you're gonna need something to cut your foam core. So a ruler, metal is preferable, and a sharp knife. I like to use this X-Acto knife. And there you go. Those are the supplies you need to make your own foam core drawing board. First, let's cut the board to the size we need. I use a ruler and a pencil to make some quick marks of the size that I want. Then I'll use the ruler to guide my knife so my cut is very straight. Please take your time here because it is easy to cut yourself, and be careful. We don't want any bleeding or jagged edges on your board. After your board is cut, all you need to do is grab about 20 sheets of paper and clip them to the board. You're done. Simple, easy. All right, now that you got your drawing board created, it's time for me to show you a pro tip on using these clips here, and why you need 3 of them to make this happen. So let's say that you're drawing and you're standing, so your board is upright. Maybe you're at a life drawing class or in your studio or whatever, and you finish both sides of this one page and you want to go on to the next page. So you have to pull this one off the board. With only 2 clips, here's what happens. Not so good. Okay, now that I picked up all of my paper off the floor, I'm going to show you the advantage of 3 clips. So let's add this extra clip, and I want to take this page off the board. 1, 2, 3. Super easy. All my paper's still there, I can keep working, and it hasn't interrupted the class or me. All right, let's go over a really cool modification for your board. And this is for the digital artists out there that want to be mobile with their iPad or whatever small digital device you have. Now, if you have a leftover piece, you want to cut it down to this size. So it's the same width as your drawing board, and it's about 2 inches on this end, on the short end. Now what you want to do is just clip with your binder clips this piece to the board on either side. Make sure it's level. And what that does is gives you a nice shelf so that when you have your drawing board in your lap, you can just put your digital device on there and then draw there. So within seconds, you can go from charcoal to digital. Awesome. Okay, one last tip to make the best drawing board ever even better, if that's even possible. I'm not sure if it is. You can take your binder clips that we have here and throw them onto the bottom of your board, and then turn those little wings in, which is nice. That way they're flat to the board. And then let's say you need to transport your board. Get a nice large bag, which is super helpful, especially when you live in Seattle like I do, where it rains a lot, because I don't want to get this awesome drawing wet, right? Lots of bag noise. Awesome, now I can transport my board through the Seattle rain without anything getting wet. And I won't smudge all my charcoal even if it's not raining. The bag is super helpful. Grab a big bag. So there you go, the best drawing board in my opinion, because it's light, it's cheap, it's durable, you can customize it however you want, and best of all, what's most important is that it does its job, and it does its job well. And it allows you to do what matters most, create. I hope you liked this video, and if so, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and subscribe to my channel. And maybe check out my website, because I do art every single day to hopefully inspire you so you can show up every day and do your artwork. And these videos are all about giving you practical tools so that you can show up and be your creative best. If you have any questions or comments about the best drawing board ever, put them in the comments below, and I'm going to answer those comments for you and try and help you out a bit more. Until then, see you on the next video.